Driving towards Lysanthia, the road unraveled like a ribbon through the emerald embrace of sprawling forests. The trees, towering and dense, stood like silent sentinels guarding the path to the village. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a mosaic of light and shadow on my car as it navigated the serpentine road. A sense of isolation, of being a solitary traveler venturing into a forgotten realm, filled me with a mix of exhilaration and an indefinable apprehension. I had always had an affinity for uncovering the obscured treasures of the world, those little-known enclaves shrouded in mystery and allure. And the Yellow Bloom Festival of Lysanthia, a scarcely mentioned event in obscure travel forums, had piqued my curiosity. The quaint town, when it finally came into view, was a revelation. Nestled in a clearing where the trees reluctantly parted ways, it was a village untouched by time. Cobblestone streets meandered through rows of quaint cottages, their timber frames leaning gently under the weight of years. In the heart of the village, an ancient stone fountain, worn smooth by centuries, gurgled with crystal-clear water. The Yellow Bloom Festival had transformed this sleepy hamlet into a carnival of colors. Garlands of yellow flowers adorned every surface, from the wooden balconies of the cottages to the arches of the old stone bridge crossing a babbling brook. The fragrance of the blooms hung in the air, a sweet melody that played with the senses. As I moved among the villagers, the camera slung around my neck, clicking away, I couldn't help but notice the peculiar undercurrent beneath the surface charm. Their smiles were warm, yet fleeting, as if they were well-practiced masks. As I conversed with them, trying to delve deeper into the history of the festival and the significance of the yellow flowers, a subtle shift occurred. Their smiles, initially warm and inviting, took on a tinge of restraint. Eyes that had met mine in Kaliladeri now flickered away, evading my inquiries. Driven by an innate curiosity, I strayed from the vibrant center of the festival into the quieter fringes of the village. Here the jubilant noise faded into a hushed tranquility. The houses, adorned with the same yellow flowers, seemed more introspective and secretive. It felt as if each window, with its delicate lace curtains, held a story that wasn't mine to hear. Night descended, draping Lysanthia in a veil of mystery. The edges of the village, where the fields of yellow flowers lay, seemed to beckon. Under the moon's soft glow, the flowers swayed gracefully, casting ethereal shadows on the ground. Standing there, amidst the sea of yellow, I felt as though I had stumbled upon a private ritual, an ancient dance between the blooms and the whispering wind. Back at the inn, nestled under a rustic thatched roof, the day's enigmas spun through my mind. The village, while charming, was like a beautiful puzzle, each piece a fragment of a story that was elusive and arcane. In the embrace of a fitful sleep, my dreams wove themselves around images of the yellow flowers, dancing to a tune that was as haunting as it was mesmerizing. The next morning, I awoke to a Lysanthia draped in a soft, misty shroud. The early sun, a pale disk in the overcast sky, cast a gentle light over the village, now silent after the previous night's revelries. The vibrant energy of the festival seemed to have retreated, like a tide leaving behind a quiet introspection. After a breakfast of freshly baked bread and local honey in the inn's cozy dining room, I set out to explore further. The streets, now devoid of the previous day's crowds, had a different character. The yellow flowers, still omnipresent, appeared more vivid against the muted backdrop of the overcast day. Their sweet scent lingered in the air, but it now carried a hint of something inexplicable, almost melancholic. Venturing towards the outskirts, where the houses thinned and gave way to open fields, I felt a growing sense of unease. The fields, blanketed with the same yellow blooms that adorned the village, stretched out like a golden sea, their edges blurring into the dense forests beyond. It was here, away from the prying eyes of the villagers, that I hoped to uncover more about the festival's true nature. As I walked among the flowers, the silence was profound, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. The isolation was palpable, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched, though a quick glance around confirmed I was alone. It was then that I stumbled upon a hidden entrance, partially obscured by overgrowth. a narrow passageway leading underground. The air grew cooler as I descended the worn stone steps, the scent of earth and dampness replacing the floral fragrance. My heart raced with anticipation and a tinge of fear. What secrets did this village hold in its depths? The passage opened into a chamber, its walls lined with aged bricks. In the dim light, I could make out shelves laden with dusty jars and faded books. A heavy silence hung in the air, as if the room had been undisturbed for ages. It felt like stepping into another time, a forgotten chapter of Lysanthia's history. My exploration was interrupted by a soft, hesitant voice. Turning, I found Lila, the enigmatic local I had briefly spoken to the day before. Her eyes, wide with a mix of fear and resolve, met mine. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "There are things about Lysanthia that outsiders shouldn't unearth." Her words, laced with an earnest urgency, sent a chill down my spine. Lila's demeanor suggested she was burdened with knowledge too heavy for one person to bear. She glanced nervously over her shoulder before continuing. "The festival, the flowers, they're not what they seem. They're part of something older, something that the village doesn't speak of." The air between us was thick with unspoken words, with secrets that Lila seemed to be wrestling with. "What are you afraid of?" I asked, my voice steady, despite the pounding of my heart. Lila's gaze fell to the ground, and when she spoke again, her voice was a mere whisper. "The flowers. They feed on something more than just soil and water. They're tied to Lysanthia in a way that's unnatural." Before I could press for more details, footsteps echoed in the passage above. Lila's eyes widened in alarm. "You must go, now. If they find you here with me, I can't protect you." And I knew I had no choice but to heed her warning. Reluctantly, I made my way back to the surface, the weight of Lila's words heavy on my mind. The village's charming facade was cracking, revealing glimpses of a darker truth beneath. As I emerged into the daylight, the yellow flowers swaying in the fields seemed to watch me, their petals hiding secrets that were slowly coming to light. The descent of the sun toward the horizon draped Lysanthia in a cloak of lengthening shadows, transforming the village's cobblestone streets into a mosaic of light and dark. The earlier vibrancy of the festival had subtly shifted to a more subdued tone, as if the village itself was holding a collective breath, bracing against an unseen storm. My thoughts swirled in a tumultuous sea of confusion and dread, fueled by Lila's cryptic warnings and the unanswered questions that hung heavily in the air. Finding myself wandering the less trodden paths of the village, I was drawn inexorably towards the elder's residence. This grand, time-worn structure stood aloof from its surroundings, its aged stone facade and weathered timber framing exuding a sense of solemn history. Elder Tom, revered and somewhat feared by the villagers, was a repository of Lysanthia's deepest lore. His knowledge, I hoped, might shed light on the dark corners of the village's past. As I approached, the heavy oak door groaned open, revealing Elder Tom framed in the doorway. His gaze, sharp and penetrating, seemed to pierce through the veil of my apprehension. "You seek answers, outsider," he intoned, his voice resonating with a timbre that spoke of age and authority. "But be forewarned. The truths of Lysanthia are like roots entwined in soil. Disturb them, and the ground may shift beneath you." With a hesitance that belied my inner turmoil, I stepped across the threshold. "I need to understand," I found myself insisting, my voice betraying a hint of desperation. "About the festival, the yellow flowers, and the veiled secrets that seem to cast long shadows over everything here." The study into which Elder Tom led me was a cavernous room, its walls adorned with ancient tapestries depicting scenes of pastoral life and arcane rituals. The air was dense with the aromas of old books, dried herbs, and a hint of wood smoke from the fireplace. In the flickering firelight, Elder Tom began to weave the narrative of Lysanthia's past. "Many centuries ago," he began, his voice taking on a distant, reflective quality, Our village was besieged by a maelstrom of misfortune. Famine darkened our fields, and disease whispered death into our homes. In desperation, we turned our pleas to the earth beneath us, invoking powers that slumbered in forgotten depths. The yellow flowers, now our festival's pride, were our salvation. But they demanded their own tribute, a price steeped in shadows and secrecy. I listened, my heart a chilling stone in my chest. The flowers, the very soul of Lysanthia's joy, were harbingers of a dark covenant struck in desperation. "What manner of tribute?" I asked, dreading the response. "The essence of life, drawn from those who wander among us yet do not belong," Elder Tom replied, his eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "The flowers feed on the vitality of strangers, their alien energies fueling the cycle that blesses our village with abundance and wards off decay. It is a pact that has woven itself into the very fabric of our existence, repeated with each turn of the season." Shaken to my core by Elder Tom's revelations, I stumbled out of his house, the heavy truth of Lysanthia's past weighing upon me. The flowers, once symbols of beauty and celebration, now appeared as harbingers of a dark, secret pact. The joyous facade of the village, I realized, was a lure, meticulously crafted to ensnare the unsuspecting. With a sense of urgency clawing at my senses, I made my way back to the inn. The streets of Lysanthia, once pathways of wonder and curiosity, now felt like oppressive alleys, cloaked in the shadows of deceit. My return to the inn was hurried and frantic. Packing my belongings, I felt a strange detachment, as if I was moving in a dream, the truth still too surreal to fully grasp. The drive away from the village was a quiet escape into the night. As I left Lysanthia behind, its charming houses and quaint streets disappeared into the darkness. The image of the yellow flowers, under the moon's eerie light, lingered in my rearview mirror, a haunting reminder of the chilling truth I had uncovered. I felt compelled to share my harrowing experience. I poured my heart into writing, documenting every detail, every conversation, every chilling revelation. My account of Lysanthia, when published, painted a vivid picture of the village's hidden darkness, its sinister cycle of prosperity built on deception. Yet, to my dismay, my tale was met with skepticism and disbelief. It was brushed aside as an elaborate fiction, a writer's fanciful imagination at play. The haunting truth of Lysanthia, with its deceptive beauty and concealed horrors, was too much for the world to accept as reality. In the end, Lysanthia remained shrouded in its enigmatic veil, its sinister traditions continuing away from the scrutiny of the outside world. The village, with its alluring yellow blooms, became nothing more than a whispered legend, a ghostly tale in the annals of forgotten lore. But for me, the memories of those flowers, swaying silently in the moonlight, will forever be a haunting reminder of the truth that lies hidden beneath beauty.